Welcome to What Matters, a podcast that looks inward at unique experiences, upward for divine direction, and outward at God's activity in our world. I'm Michelle Funk, your host, and I'm so glad that you're here with us today. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. They release on What Matters Wednesdays. What Matters Wednesdays. So that's when each new episode will release. I am delighted to introduce you today to Ann Carter, who is joining us here on the podcast. Ann has been instrumental in our church's efforts to get to know our partner schools and to just be a partner with our area elementary schools. And so, welcome, Ann.
Thank you.
Hello, hello.
Delighted to be here.
Thank you. Our church has the just fabulous opportunity to come alongside teachers and school staff and just be a part of what is happening in the lives of these schools that are in our area. I wonder, who had this idea? What a good idea to do, and how did it all begin?
So the Partner School Ministry actually began with Bless the School, and I'm guessing that's about 15 years ago, but I'm losing track of time. We were approached about partnering with a school in Kansas City, Missouri, and that was about the time that Missouri was experiencing difficulty, too many buildings, and that kind of thing. And the buildings were aging and in a bit of disarray, and they were doing a wonderful job keeping them up as best they could. But a lot of the schools could have used a refresh, a coat of paint, just some basic refreshing. So we toured a couple of schools and decided on a school, which was the first school was Wendell Phillips. And we went in and did the Bless the School project there. And when we finished with that, there were still things that the school needed. They needed an ice maker so that the nurse would have ice for the kids when they bumped their head. That was so long ago they didn't have ice packs.
Yeah,
so
right.
We installed an ice maker for them and did several other things that they needed. Well, within a year or so, the ice maker broke. It was a used one that we had installed, and it needed a compressor, I think. Anyway, the school didn't have the money to do that, so they uninstalled it and threw it away. Oh. And we were so saddened by the fact that we had not developed a relationship with them where they felt that they could come to us and say, we got a problem with the ice maker. Is there anything you could do to help? And so that's when we realized that we needed a liaison to represent our church at the school and be able to fill the other needs that they had besides just paint and those kinds of things.
Right. Oh, wow. Because school goes on.
Yes, yes.
Past the summer and past the Bless the School program. But what a great beginning point. I did not know that was the full story behind how we began to partner. The Bless the School project, though, you mentioned. Okay. I've been a part of that over the course of a few summers. What a huge big deal. And yeah, just a little coat of paint, it turns into a lot more than that.
Yes.
How did that all get going, and what all are some of the projects you remember taking place?
So then the next year, obviously, we decided to do it again. It was a huge success with our congregation the first year. Yeah. We've always had great support on that. Mm-hmm. So the second school has an interesting story behind it. We chose Troost Elementary. Troost was in great need. It's probably one of the older buildings in the district, and in great need of not only paint, but a lot of hole patching. And they had had a flood the year before on their gymnasium floor, and the floor was buckled, and the kids couldn't have gym in there because it was a trip hazard. So Paul Yarrick and I, bless his heart, this was back when Bless the School was 2 weeks instead of one. So Paul and I decided we'd do it again. And the big project we wanted to do was the gym floor. Only he's not handy and I'm not handy. And we had no idea what we were getting ourselves in for. So the first week went by and we're painting and everything's going great. And Monday morning of the second week, Paul comes to me and he goes, Ann, and he put his hand on my shoulder and he goes, it's up to you to find someone to do this gym floor. And I looked at Paul. I said, Paul, I have no idea. I don't know what to do. I don't even know what kind of materials we need or anything. So anyway, I thought, well, I'll get through the morning shift and then I'll see what I can do to figure it out. So a little ways through the morning shift, a man walks in, and he has on a collared shirt with a flooring logo on his shirt. And I looked at him and I said, "Do you know how to lay a gym floor?" And he goes, "Oh, of course I do." And I said, "Well, could you put together a supply list and teach us today how to install that floor, because we have to have it done by Friday?" Yeah. And he goes, "Well, I've signed up for all the shifts this week, so I'll just supervise the installation of the floor." So that was just, I could just feel God's hand on my shoulder, the other shoulder where Paul's hand had been. Right. I felt God's hand on my shoulder saying, "It's going to be okay. You guys are going to be okay. We're going to get this taken care of." And so the man came and he laid the gym floor and we were in great shape.
Oh, my word.
So
that's amazing. I bet you have a ton of stories of people showing up just at the right time.
Yes. And we could always feel God's hand on our shoulders. Yeah. That was the cool part about it.
Yeah.
We had one lady come one time who had vertigo, and she said, "I can work at eye level. I can do this. I can't do anything. I can't bend over, and I can't stand on a ladder." So we were able to give her a cleaning job, tile that desperately needed to be cleaned that normally we didn't do because we needed so many bodies to paint.
Right.
But she was great.
Yes. Yeah. How many paint colors do you think you have gone through? Or have you stuck with a modern, like a similar theme all the way through?
That's an interesting question, because it's been interesting to watch the districts evolve as we've done these schools. Yeah. At first, we were the ones who chose the paint. Mm-hmm. And basically, we chose something that would go with the existing flooring. Yeah. But about 4 or 5 years ago, the district came up with a color palette. And you had to choose from either a gray or a beige palette. And then they had these accent colors to go with that palette. And they allowed the principals to choose 2 colors from the accent colors. So they could choose the beige family or the gray family and then 2 accent colors. So, we finally figured out that we had to store the paint at the school because they would need it to touch up.
Oh, sure.
We were accumulating gallons, 5-gallon buckets of all different colors of paint. So Paul and I one day took the paint back to each of the schools and gave them the rest of the paint so that they were able to touch up.
Yeah, so smart, because obviously there are going to be scuffs and marks and this and that need a little bit of touch up along the way. So painting was a huge part of Bless the School. The occasional flooring.
Lots of cleaning. We did lots and lots and lots of cleaning. Yeah. We didn't do anything with plumbing or HVAC or electrical, because we felt that whatever we did might compromise what had already been done there. So we didn't want to get into any of that. Yeah. And especially for electrical, we weren't licensed to do that. But we did a lot of, one of the jobs that we found that was great for teenagers was cleaning the underside of the cafeteria tables. So most of the cafeteria tables folded into an upside down V. Right. And anything the kids didn't really want, like their gum, they would wipe on the bottom side of the tables. And there was all kinds of food. You can imagine at the end of the year, we were the ones who came in before the cleaning crew came in to clean for fall. So we got to school right after school was out. And the cleaning on the underside of the tables, nobody wanted to do. No. So typically we would have a group of teenagers come, and that was their assigned job, was to clean the underside of the tables. And it made the cafeteria smell so good. So that was really a fun project, and it was always fun to decide who was going to end up with that project.
It probably taught the teenagers, don't put anything on the underside of a table, ever.
Exactly. And then we did a little bit of landscaping. We did a memorial garden at Troost for one of the teachers who had passed. That was an interesting story also, because Paul's way of cleaning out weeds and my way were 2 different ways. And so he would clean out the weeds and drop them on me, literally down about 4 steps, and then I bagged them. Well, he wasn't allergic to poison ivy, but I was. And so he dropped a load of poison ivy on me one time. And I was covered with poison ivy for about 2 weeks. So we started to do that a different way. Yes. And then we put in playgrounds.
Right. I remember that. Yeah. Yes.
And that was always an interesting piece, because you never knew what you were going to find.
I bet not. And you had to have did you partner with a company to do? I mean, you had to know how to do that as well.
We did partner with a company, and the company who sold us the equipment would take a 3-day weekend and come help us, oversee us install the equipment. It was a great learning experience on how to use some of the tools, but most of the time I didn't touch the tools. I just did the cleanup work.
Yeah, yeah. And employed hundreds and hundreds and maybe even thousands of volunteers.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. I think one year we topped 1,200 volunteer shifts, 3-hour shifts.
Yeah.
So that's 3,600 hours of free cleaning and painting and playground installation that we were able to gift to the district.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know just from my personal experience, I would go and volunteer and get to paint or do whatever. And then upon leaving, you just had a smile on your face. I mean, it just felt like that was something that was important to do and to just be part of this effort to partner and be a presence in the community. You don't do it for the smile, but yet if you walk away smiling, that's pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
And the draw of that project was that it was a 3-hour shift. And it wasn't that you had to finish painting a room. It was a 3-hour shift. You walked in, you walked out, you were done. If you wanted to sign up for extra shifts, you could, but it was a finite amount of time.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And great camaraderie among people.
Yes. Yes.
And maybe a little bit of spilled paint.
Oh, my. Tracked paint was even worse than spilled paint because inevitably when it was spilled, somebody would step in it.
Yes.
And then we scraped a lot of paint off of floors.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to drop names of any not so great painters? Were there some in there that you thought maybe shouldn't be here, i.e. Pastor Adam? Oh, no, I don't know.
Compared to teenagers, Pastor Adam was a master painter.
Oh, well, good. Okay.
Yeah, teenagers were just the worst.
Yeah.
And we tried to find any job we could find for them that wasn't painting.
Yeah, yeah. That's so fun. So we partner still with a whole lot of schools in the community, and we do more than bless the school, obviously. I mean, that's one big, big thing that we get to do, and it's a joy to do, and a great way to develop relationship, just like you have mentioned. But we partner all year round, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you speak into some of those other things that we do, or is that somebody else's area?
Well, no. Some of the other things we do, now we have liaisons for every school. We have 9 partner schools, and we have liaisons for every school. And we have a team at every school. So there's a liaison, a co-liaison who will step into her shoes should she have to retire. And then an assistant liaison or liaisons who help with certain projects and do things like that. And we have a lot of fun stuff. We try to center the ministry around the needs of the school. Rather than going into the school and saying, we have all of these things, we ask them what they need.
Right.
At one time, I was liaison to Welborn, and I remember going into the principal's office, and I said, what do you need? She had a Bible on her desk, which just really warmed my heart. And she smacked her hand on the table and she goes, I've been waiting for you to ask. So she needed a perfect attendance program to encourage the kids to come to school. And she needed a reading program to get the kids reading when they were at home. And then she needed an incentive program to inspire the kids to work really hard on their tests.
Yeah.
There was one of the teachers who was a 4th or 5th grade teacher said to me, when our kids come in to take the test, they know that once they're done checking boxes, they have free time. And so they just go through and check the boxes down the list rather than reading the questions and answering them.
Right.
And she said, we just need something to inspire them. So we came up with a testing reward program where the kids would get rewarded for making their individual goals on their standardized tests.
Yeah.
And I had a little girl come up to me one day when we were at the reward ceremony, and we had tables set out with toys. There were big toys for achieving both goals and smaller toys for achieving one goal. She came running up and she wrapped her arms around my leg and she said, Miss Ann, this is the first time I've gotten to shop on the big side. And I said, well, how did you do that? And she said, well, I worked with my teacher during lunch and after school, and she told me what I needed to learn, and I worked really hard to learn it. And I said, that's a great life lesson.
Isn't it, though? Oh, my
It's
word.
wonderful. So
Yeah.
anyway, this principal, these were the things that she most badly needed, and she was quick to talk about them. And it wasn't crayons, and it wasn't it wasn't material things. It was coming up with inspiration to inspire the kids to work hard.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And again, the congregation got involved in all of this
Yes,
too.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
If you,
Helped provide toys.
right.
And we used everything. I mean, we used barely used toys, and we used brand new toys. We have a bicycle ministry that we still are working on, where people give us their used kids' bikes, and one of our liaisons, Bud Cornelius, takes them home and revives them, new seats, new handle grips, whatever they need, adjust the brakes, and then we turn around and donate them to our partner schools. And generally, they use them at the end of the year for attendance incentives.
Yeah. I just love it. Okay, so you occasionally post things on Facebook about things that could be used for incentive programs.
I'm glad you said occasionally, because most people give me a lot of grief about how frequently I post.
I think it is so effective, and you're so amazing, because I know you're getting things dropped off at your doorstep.
Yes.
And I feel like when you ask for something, it is rained down usually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So I also have moved to Nextdoor, to asking for things on Nextdoor. So it's both Nextdoor and Facebook. And the other day I asked for lacing. Someone was very generous and donated thousands of beads to us.
Yeah.
And we haven't had a way to use them and couldn't figure out a way. So we decided we could make bead kits for the kids, because craft kits are really popular with that age group. And so I posted on Nextdoor that if you had any, little pieces of lanyard or unused, skeins of lanyard, that you could drop it on my porch. And I got an email from a woman who said, I just purchased $100 worth of lanyard from Michael's, and they're going to let you know when it's ready to be picked up. This was a woman I didn't even know. So I texted her and I said, now, why did you do that? I said, I'm so grateful, but why did you do that? And she said, because I have a special needs son. And during COVID, he didn't have anything to do, and he spent hours stringing beads. And she sent me a picture of the tub full of beads that he had strung.
Yeah.
So, I make great contacts.
Yes.
Another woman had a birthday party, and instead of gifts, her friends brought snacks. And so that was really cool. And then they wanted to talk about, where the snacks would go. And so it's spreading the ministry to other people, whether or not they belong to our church, but spreading the ministry and what little things everybody can do to make a big difference.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Some of the incentive programs I know encourage kids in developing their reading skills.
Yes.
And I feel like our church really does a lot to do that, because of the importance of reading. Yeah, so there's this thing called the Bookmobile, as well as the fantastic incentive program. Tell me about that.
So the little thing called the Bookmobile.
Yeah.
2 years ago, before COVID, obviously, we distributed 66,000 books that year. Every kid who gets on the Bookmobile gets a new book and then a used book, and they get to keep them. It's not a library system. They get to keep them to build their own library. And so we have quite a few people who love that ministry. It's a commitment, but it's not you don't have to serve every week or every month or every year. You can serve at your leisure. So the Bookmobile has been, I think we have about 80 people on that team right now, has been a really popular way to get people involved without them having to make a certain time commitment. They can choose when and where they want to show up. They have to be certified, obviously, with Safe Gatherings and Urban Training. But some people serve every week. And some people serve, maybe once a year, but it's a wonderful ministry.
Yeah. And then I know COVID disrupted so much of everything, but we also have, is it mentoring? Is it called that?
Tutoring.
Tutoring. I'm sorry. Yeah. Thank you. So tutoring, I hope that'll get going again.
Oh,
we all
do.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, we do too.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to have been able somehow to flex into a I can't think of what it's called.
Like a hybrid something,
Yeah,
or virtual,
yeah.
or yeah.
Virtual tutoring.
Yeah.
But I think there were so many hills to climb for the schools that
Yeah.
just was not on their horizon.
Well, I mean, the world went upside down, and so they were scrambling. Every school, everybody has that's, so I'm sure when it's possible, something will get going again.
So for that reason, we're gearing up for fall because we know all these kids are going to need help with reading. And so we're going to have an info meeting in July, and it'll be posted on the core.org partner school website, where people can come and learn more about the partner schools, what the commitment is to tutor. We do like to have people show up every week, at least for a semester, because the kids that's the highlight of their day many times. We had a little boy who, Bud Cornelius, I mentioned his name again, was tutoring, and this little boy was gone for a week. And when Bud came back, the little boy came flying out of his classroom and gave Bud a big hug, and he said, "I missed you so much, and I was good for my teacher because of you." And so that was quite a heartwarming moment to realize that time that he spent with those kids was so valuable. We have tutors. I think Nancy Krause has been one of our longtime tutors. And she has tutored at Welborn for years, and she's awesome. Kids love her.
Yeah. I know that we have a lot of opportunities coming up this summer, but I also just want to kind of come back to some of your Facebook posts because they crack me up. So we're here. You're involved in, the partner schools and this and this and this, and you're asking for that. You're busy. You're always doing something on the go. And whenever you post something on Facebook that you poke fun at yourself.
Yes.
Okay, I've lost my reading glasses again, only to find out they were on top of my head.
Right.
Or I parked in a certain spot, I can't find my car, and then I remembered, I drove a different car.
Exactly. And I'm constantly looking for my phone because with leggings, there aren't pockets.
Right.
So now I've started to buy leggings with pockets, so I don't have to put my phone down. But yeah, I always have a big list to work on, and I get hyper focused on my list, and I'm not paying attention to what's going on around me. So and I just want people to see themselves in my mishaps. Because I think it's a really funny opportunity to connect with people.
Yes, because we all do this.
Yes.
I mean, for one, I walk into a room and I totally forget why I walked into the room, and if I can see somebody else has done that, I'm like, oh, good. I'm not going, mad. It's okay. It's okay.
My favorite was, and I think most responded to, was I had a hole in my coat. And so, and I knew I had a hole in my coat, but that was why wear another coat, because I'll just rip it, because I'm constantly carrying and moving things. So somebody said to me one morning, "You have a hole in your coat," and it kind of became a joke. And several of the liaisons came up to me and said, "Do you know you have a hole in your coat?" And so I posted on Facebook, "Yes, I know I have a hole in my coat, but it's going to stay there," and it was a very popular thing.
Everybody could relate.
Everybody could relate, exactly. Yes.
It also means you are moving and shaking and doing a lot of things. And,
Yes.
and I think sometimes it's okay to say, well done, and keep doing. Keep misplacing your reading glasses or doing this and that, because you're also doing some really great and wonderful things.
And it gives me time, because I'm so focused, it gives me time to laugh at myself and kind of break up the seriousness of the day, which I really appreciate being able to do that.
Yeah, we all need that too. Well, so tell us what to look for this summer here in the life of Church of the Resurrection. And, this podcast goes out beyond that, but every community has an opportunity to do something on behalf of elementary age school children. So there might be something that inspires another community. But what do we have going on here for this summer?
Okay, so we're going to be doing the bookmobile all summer. As a matter of fact, it's really gearing up right now. I think we have maybe 6 runs scheduled for May, and we've only had 1 or 2 runs each month. So the bookmobile will be gearing up.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing the school supply drive.
Okay.
So we're going to be we're going to have certain lists for each school where people can go out and buy school supplies for a specific school. We don't give those supplies to the kids. We give them to the teachers, because if we gave them to the kids would take them home and use the crayons at home rather than bring them back to school, and then the teachers would have to buy crayons and paper and all of that.
Right.
So we will be doing the school supply drive in July. I think it's the third Saturday in July, and there will be bags available in the narthex for people to pick up. We
Nice.
hope, if
Yes.
things continue the way they are.
Yeah.
There'll be preparation for tutoring, so it's a good time for people to get certified in safe gatherings and urban training so they can tutor the kids in the fall. It's mostly reading tutoring, and I think especially after COVID, it's going to be a lot of reading,
Yeah.
because you have to be able to read to be able to do your math problems
Yeah.
and other things.
Right.
We're going to have Bless the School, I think. There's still preparation for that. That's no longer, I'm no longer overseeing that, but there are plans in place for it. We'll be doing book drives. So right now we're really low on chapter books for 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. Because each kid gets a new book and a used book, we have 2 different sections, and we have to be full in both sections.
Right.
Because it's very expensive to give away 2 new books.
Yeah.
And we want the kids to have the pleasure of having a new book because they receive so many things that are handed down. But we also want them to get a second book that really doesn't cost us anything.
Yeah.
We're going to have several drives, personal care drives, snack drives, and we'll be sorting things in the basement. We do, that come in from the drives. We do the snack drives because with COVID, they've had to reduce the number of kids in the cafeterias. So the lunch times are now spread over, many of them start at 10:30 and they end about 2 o'clock. And so if a kid gets to school at 8 in the morning, but he doesn't get lunch till 2 o'clock, he's really hungry.
Yeah.
So, and some kids get to school late and miss breakfast. So snack drives are really important to us. And because of COVID, we have to give out individually wrapped snacks.
Right.
We can't just take a bag of popcorn and, dump a little on everybody's napkin.
Yeah.
So those are the primary things we're going to be doing this summer. We work every Monday morning in the basement from 9 to 11 or 9 to noon, and we organize all the donations that come in. We take inventory of our school uniforms. We make incentive items for the teachers and for the kids. This past year, incentives for the teachers have become overwhelmingly important because they've had such a rough year.
Tough year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing all of those things, and then we'll have the info meeting in July, and people can come and learn more about the partner schools and how they can get involved.
Yeah. Such good stuff. We will link all of that up and make that available and help spread the word so that everybody can get involved. So
Awesome. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. Thank you, Anne, for all that you do, for being a part of the podcast and sharing all of this great. It's fun to hear the stories behind all of the things that have occurred over the past 15 years and counting.
Yeah.
So good stuff. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So that's what matters with our partner schools and all of the ways you can consider developing a relationship with the schools in your community and finding out what their needs are and then rallying others to try to meet those needs. It's all good stuff. So I'm Michelle Funk, your host. Thanks for joining us today. See you next time. You have a few things going on.
Yes.
That's what I love.
Well, and I didn't even talk about my garage food ministry.